Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a tale of two list because I want to focus on two of them. Yes, as we know, changes happened recently, and this video is late. I'll admit it's late, kind of. I did intentionally make it late. So, is it late if I intended to do it, but you might have seen the information? Either way, this video is going to be covering two lists from last week as we go into this weekend. I want to cover the list by Nathaniel and by Hogan, both in Subterranean Assault. Why, you may ask, and why a tale of two lists? Because one of them has the new points, one of them does not. And I am just now remembering live, that's what I forgot to do to see if my app updated again. Because I see that the new detachments that were supposed to come out didn't come out, but they might not come out. I don't know what's going on with that. Anywho, back to Tyranids. So, I think we should probably start with the one that had old points and then talk about why I find some things interesting, because it's just going to get better. So, Hogan has Subterranean Assault, says this list again, if you have more information on this one, I would love to hear it. If Hogan is watching this, or you have played against Hogan, is this something that they've run several times? That'd be interesting. But for Hogan's list of Subterranean Assault, they have two Brood Lords, Neuro Tyrant, Swarm Lord, two Trigons, one with Trigon becoming Trigon Prime, one with Vanguard Intellect, meaning that it can deep strike turn 1, 2, or 3. And the Neurotitan has tremor senses, meaning you can redeploy. Battle line, we have two units of Gargoyles, a Biovore, two Max Bricks of Gene Stealers, three MAWLOCS, a Ripper, and Zoes. And I'm going to do the same laugh that I've done in the past with the Ripper, because as I can see, this is probably a points filler. That would be my guess, right? Had 25 points and you maxed out enhancements. That would be my guess. But the funnier thing about the Ripper thing is that there's no spine maw here, meaning probably just forgot to click the box to put the spine maw. Not expecting you to do anything with the Ripper Swarm, but I always find it funny where it's just like, how the fuck is it literally just to do one thing? You really don't care that much that the box didn't get clicked. So probably it is not a big thing at all, but it's always funny. Now, why will this list get better? Because as I can see it, using the old points, Mawlok went down, Gene Stealers went down. Well, the 10-man went down. So, this Ripper Swarm will be upgraded, I would assume. Hey, I don't know. I would assume that this Ripper becomes something serious. Maybe a Lictor at this point. Maybe you drop an enhancement or two because you want something even more than that. But I think this is pretty cool, especially with the amount of shit that I'm looking at. So, 20 Gargoyles. I have been told. I was going to say convinced, but I don't know. I've been told about the lovely usage of gargoyles, which is going to be fun when I tell you about the next list and the thing that I will vouch for, and you'll look at me like I'm crazy compared to vouching for gargoyles, which are a staple. It's just their 85 points, but there's 20 gargoyles here, and they help you do this thing called screening, which is something you need to land all of your shit, i.e., your snakes, to make things come out of their holes. Yep, we're just going to leave it there. Now, the funnier thing is here that the MAWLOCS get cheaper. And I wonder, right? I wonder realistically how many times you can get a battle shock test. Honestly, thinking about it, I wonder if the Ripper, with all these points drops, becomes a Neurolictor. Hell, maybe two? No, hold on. 20. 45. If you drop an enhancement? I wonder if they become Neurolictors. Why is that? So, and the even funnier thing is that Subterranean Assault might be. No. I take that back. I was going to say it might be more consistent for enabling Battle Shock over Vanguard Onslaught, but I don't think that's true. I think Vanguard Onslaught will still take the cake, no matter what. But I wonder if they become a Neurolictor, because we have three MAWLOCS in a squad of Zoes. And as we know, Zoe's attached to a Neurotyrant. The Neurotyrant is the one that's still in this ability. +1 to wound versus things that are battle shocked. Neurotyrant also gives you +1 to hit. So that's pretty cool. Swarmlord also makes it so that the cost of stratagems around swarming goes up by 1. So we're looking at a list that, on a very good day, could make it really annoying for your opponent to try to use stratagems while taking, I would assume, quite a bit of mortal wounds, right? And going to the Gene Stealers on the mortal wound part, they have devastating wounds. So this might be a recipe for your opponent's demise that we could see happening more often. Now, I guess I should say there's always, if they're within 6 inches, also have a, if your opponent gets battle shock, they can take mortals. So there's a chance that a lot of mortals being dished out across this. And while I'm talking about the Biovore with the Spore Mines, if the Spore Mines explode near something, that's more mortals. Do I imagine that's the game plan here? You know, at first I was going to say no. But it's not every day you take triple MAWLOC. So it just might be. And if things get mortal wounded enough, I'm thinking, triple MAWLOCs with enough mortal wounds, and then diving back, Gene Stealers could probably clean up. Especially if the Gene Stealers come out of said hole with rerollable charges next to a monster that got set up, i.e. a You know what? Hogan, you might be single-handedly restoring my faith in MAWLOCS and Subterranean Assault. Because if you put enough of them things around, make enough holes, create some other shit that can follow up, because I think that's the problem, right? I think that was the problem in Vanguard Onslaught, where if you have the MAWLOCS, right? We've done the snake list several times in Vanguard Onslaught. You're relying on the MAWLOC to do it all, right? It'll get the mortal wounds. Hopefully it'll make a battle shock test. Hopefully your opponent fails the battle shock test. And then hopefully your MAWLOC makes the charge and cleans up after that. However, in Subterranean Assault, if it can downy uppy, trigger mortal wounds, possibly a battle shock test, and, I'm not saying that this is going to happen. This is just what I would assume would happen. Or two ways, right? If you make the mortal wounds and a battle shock test, again, that's rolling lucky, but you have 3 MAWLOCs to try, right? Make it happen, they get battle shock, you follow up with the Zoes and the Neurotyrant coming out of the hole. Or they follow up in a different direction from mortal wounds, sending Gene Stealers attached to a Brewlord in another way. Or, if the Ripper Swarms do end up becoming like a Neurolictor, we go back to the +1 to wound, and then maybe the MAWLOC itself does get it, or Gene Stealers, or whatever. You know what? Hogan? I think you got something here. Well, obviously you have something here. You got a good placement. But I'm digging it. Now, coming to Nathaniel, who we've seen time and time again, our Vanguard Onslaught hero. It's always a joy to see Nathaniel's list for the fact that they help me spread a little bit of my propaganda. First up, we have 2 squads of hyper-adapted Raveners. Neurotyrant, Swarmlord, Trigon Prime. Biovore, Lictor, 2 Neurolictors at 70. Which is interesting. As well as still having a Lictor. Personally, you know my feelings about Lictors, regular Lictors. I think they're fine. Making these 2 Neurolictors, hey, it's even better. Oh, and I should go to the name of the list, sorry. Now with less Zoanthropes, because when we last saw Nathaniel's list for Subterranean Assault, it had 18 fucking Zoes. And I was like, that's a lot of shooting. And I like the think tank, so it was interesting. Now with less Zoes. So coming back, It's interesting to see Elector still makes the list for that screening, as you see that Gargoyles aren't here. And Neurolictors also can screen, but if they get their Battle Shock, it's even better. Then we have 3 squads of Raveners, a Screamer Killer. Here comes my propaganda, the VRLs. I've told many people, Von Ryan's Leapers. Many people look at me crazy and go, I'd put a Lictor instead. I say, try Von Ryan's Leapers. I, I don't know how many times I gotta say it for you all to start believing it. Here we go. I love it. 3 MSU Von Ryan Sleepers. And then Zoe's. Don't have as much commentary on this list because I don't know what to say besides try Von Ryan Sleepers. Zoe's have become a pretty good staple with Nerd Tyrant and Subterranean Assault. Screamer Killer to trigger some Battle Shock tests, along with Neurolictor plus 1 to wound. Also can position with Zoe's plus 1 to wound, right? And we have a bunch of Burrowers to make holes. Either they can attach to the Hyper Adapted or not. You could either have 5 squads or 3. Or, I mean, I guess you could have 4 too. But there's that as well. As we're seeing, the lists are evolving, and it'd be interesting if we end up seeing a fusion of these 2 lists. Maybe MAWLOCS take the place of these Raveners. Maybe, right? They're coming to similar points. See some Neurolictors, see Zoe, see a Screamer Killer come back. And all for positioning and getting things in decent places. So, I think, moving forward, it could be pretty interesting. Maybe the points did a bit much more than I gave them credit for. And I did make a couple of jokes recently about, like, maybe we'll see them come in Subterranean Assault. And it's looking like it might be worth experimenting. So, yeah. If you liked the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.